Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reshmin Chowdhury and His Excellency Hassan Al-Thawadi of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all very well. My name is Reshmin Chowdhury. I'm a sports broadcaster, and today joining me is someone who I'm sure many of you will know, Hassan Al-Thawadi, the Secretary General of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy for the 2022 FIFA World Cup, which will be the first World Cup to be held in the Middle East and the Arab world. So a very proud moment for Hassan and his team. Obviously, are any football fans among us? And when I say football, I mean soccer. Soccer, yeah? Good, I'm glad you're all with us.
Let's stick to football. If they're true football fans, they'll appreciate the
They'll
word
get
football.
it, they'll get it. Now, Hassan, now you were, of course, part of the bidding committee as well. And we're talking, way back beyond 2010 when it was actually awarded. It's been a busy 12 or so years for you.
Yes.
Putting it mildly, huh?
I mean, yeah, you could put it that way. Look, it's been exciting. It's been great. It's been challenging. But I think in the end, it's also been extremely fulfilling. When we first bid, the vision that we had, we approached the tournament or approached the bidding process, recognizing the importance and significance of the first World Cup in the Middle East, recognizing the transformational power that hosting such a major event would have in any host nation, let alone being the first World Cup in the Middle East. The passion that our people have for the game is unparalleled. But more importantly, having experienced it personally on many different levels, the ability for it to bridge cultural gaps, the ability for it to create points of contact between people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different beliefs, different sets of values, and yet somehow create this common celebration. We recognized that it was a great opportunity. So yeah, it was over the years. I won't say we haven't faced our challenges, but I don't think at any moment in time did we ever come across a moment of regret.
No, and I can't imagine why you would. And now we actually looked it up on the website today, 62 days until the tournament kicks off.
Thank you very much for that.
I know, I thought I would bring that one in just to get the get the tension going.
Here we go, sweat coming out, okay.
But it's, we're talking about a very different world now. We're in 2022. Even when you were awarded the tournament in 2010, the world has changed immeasurably. So in terms of your vision of what this World Cup will bring, and of course we're here to talk about legacy, and we'll discuss certain aspects of that as we go forward. But your vision of what you thought this World Cup would look like, how much has that changed from 2010 to 2022?
I mean, I think, look, the general parameters still remain the same. Compact World Cup, ability for people to watch more than one match a day. It's becoming a reality. We offered it during the bidding stage. People heard it, but today it's a reality. People experienced it when we hosted the Arab Cup. I'll speak about that in a bit in 2021. The cooling technology, the fact is our stadiums are cooled. This cooling technology that we've developed is being utilized beyond stadiums for outdoor areas and has wider application than purely just to cool stadiums, practical applications. But I think the one aspect that I think now more than ever rings true is the fact that we've always said we need this, again, the significance of the first Arab World Cup is that it brings people together. And I think in this day and age, when, most people are on one end of the spectrum or the other in terms of arguments, ideologies, whatever it is, and I'm not even talking about between nations, I'm talking about between neighbors.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
a
have
fractious
conversations.
world, isn't it?
Well, it's there's unfortunately a lot of very there's a lot of conflict out there, and as I said, it's not necessarily from a nation to nation point of view. It's between friends. People have lost friends over conflicting ideas, and we need more of these sparks. This tournament, anybody that's experienced a sporting event, anybody that's experienced visiting a country during a World Cup or a Euro or whatever else it may be, knows that it's got this unbelievable ability to somehow bring people together and allow them to celebrate together. And at that moment in time, that one little moment in time, that spark of common celebration, celebrating our common humanity is just at its height. The issue is, I think, or what we've always talked about since 2010, is that these events are far in between, and we never fan them. It never continues. You talk about a lot of great moments in sporting history where people showcase the best in humanity. It spreads like wildfire, great news, a week. And then after that, it gets forgotten. And what we're saying is, we need to kind of find more and more of these common ground, common opportunities to try to promote, as I said, a common celebration.
And in a post-COVID world as well, I think that is actually key, because it's the first World Cup that we're going to have, and we say in the Middle East as well. And it's an opportunity to create a different sort of history, isn't it?
I mean, obviously, post-COVID, it's the first time people are actually going to be able to celebrate, and I think that's reflected in the record number of tickets that have been the record number of tickets or expressions of interest in terms of tickets for people to buy, and at the same time, the record number of tickets sales. So there's a huge demand for people to attend this tournament. There's no doubts about that, and I think it's a direct result of being the first major global event or global sporting event with unrestricted aspects since COVID. But I think, again, there's also curiosity. There's also a desire to come to this part of the world. There's also the desire to kind of, everybody recognize that it's an opportunity to celebrate. It's an unprecedented opportunity to celebrate. And, for those of you who've visited the Middle East, you'll know that we're fun-loving people. We like to have a lot of fun, so.
The food's great, by the way.
The food's fantastic, so definitely get your steps in. We got a great sense of humor, but you're going to have to pick up on the different sense of humor that we have. But we're a hospitable, region. We're a welcoming region. I think anybody that's come and experienced our rich culture, tradition, and history realizes we might come from different backgrounds, but I think once you're there, you'll feel at home, no matter where you're at or where you're from.
And as you did mention that you have faced your challenges, and they've been well documented as well out there in the public eye, and one of them has been in terms of labor conditions. And that's something that's not unique to just Qatar. It's something that is it's a culture in parts of the Middle East, it's a global issue, parts of the Middle East, parts of Asia. It is how it has been, but I think it's been faced head on by Qatar because of the spotlight on Qatar with the World Cup coming forward. So, but what's interesting is that it's something that you guys recognized very early on as something that you had to address.
Well, again, it takes us back to our aim for bidding, right? When we came and bid, it wasn't just for a sporting event for 28 days or 30 days at the time, 29 days now, but we recognize that it has that transformational power, not just in terms of bringing people together, but if a nation truly exploits the opportunity, it gets to push forward and accelerate a lot of its agenda, whether we're talking about infrastructure development or social reforms. The commitment towards labor reforms in the state of Qatar is embodied in the 2030 national vision, which has four pillars: economic diversification, environmental sustainability, social development, and human development. And under the human and social development, there is a commitment towards labor reforms. This was launched in 2006, way before when we even considered bidding. Now, of course, what the World Cup did was it allowed for a significant number of reforms to be accelerated. We always had laws and legislations that were in line with international standards, but yet the enforcement mechanism, the oversight, wasn't to a standard that we were proud of. But we recognized, again, early on, that the World Cup will create that momentum, will be that vehicle that will push a lot of these reforms. And I'm very proud to say, 10 years on, 13 years on actually, as you said, we faced it head on. We've welcomed people who had constructive criticism and who are willing to work with us, and at the same time criticize us even on the steps that we've taken to ensure that we're actually on the right path. In terms of the reforms that have been done by the country, the International Labor Organization, the International Trade Union Confederation, and these were, keeping in mind, these were at one point in time adversaries. Today they promote the work that's been done in the state of Qatar as being a benchmark in the region. It showcases also that there's a commitment beyond the tournament. It's not just limited to the tournament itself. These reforms are done in a way to ensure that they're sustainable and last way after 2022. The work that we've done within the Supreme Committee is also, I think, a benchmark in terms of, on a global level. If you're looking at the significant amount of work that we've done, that again had an impact on the wider aspect of the country, because a lot of people might say the work that was done in the Supreme Committee is only limited to a minority portion of the workforce. But the reality is a lot of the work that we've done actually had an impact on the wider aspect or wider ecosystem. I'll give you one simple example. We launched worker welfare forums within the Supreme Committee for the construction companies that were involved in the Supreme Committee. And these were set up to ensure that workers had a safe environment where they can raise their concerns and grievances without any fear of reprisal. We learned along the way. We thought, initially when we launched these, we were very proud and we patted ourselves on the back and we thought we did a great job. We partnered up with one of the trade unions, Builders and Woodworkers, Building Woodworkers International, and as a trade union, they understood and they could see that these forms weren't working well. They came and taught us, they told us that they weren't working well, and together we were able to make the forums more efficient and actually fit the purpose that we wanted, which is, again, creating a safe environment for all the workers to be able to raise their concerns. Now these forums are taken in a slightly different form, but now they're spread throughout the country in terms of the joint working committees. This is an initiative that was, let's say, piloted within the confines or in the environment of the World Cup and has now spread throughout the country. One other aspect that I'm extremely proud of when it comes to, in terms of actions that we've taken within the Supreme Committee that is actually on a global benchmark is recruitment fees. Now, to those of you that might not be aware, a lot of workers, when they leave their countries, usually there are people that come and meet them and tell them, I'll get you a job, you got to pay $1,000, $1,500. Now, this is illegal. Under all international norms, it's illegal. Most countries in the world have an issue with it, but because of the criminal nature of it, people don't know exactly how to deal with it. And what we did in Qatar, even though it's illegal, but the burden of proof is usually on the worker, and this is, as I said, common in most countries, we were able voluntarily to work with construction companies to flip the burden of proof to be on the company. So if a worker comes and claims that they paid recruitment fees, it's on the company to prove that they didn't. If they couldn't, then they were committed to reimburse the workers' recruitment fees.
Because often these would come through a third party, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the commitment that the companies have made, and again, I repeat, voluntarily, it's not something that we forced or strong-armed the companies to do. This is something that the companies voluntarily joined. The companies committed to reimburse around $28 million of recruitment fees, of which already $23 million has already been paid. Now, I think in terms of benchmarks, the only other international organization that supersedes us, if I'm not mistaken, it's Apple, and they did it over a period of 7 years, and they reimbursed around, I think, $37 million. We've done it over a period of 4 years, $28 million. And I think, again, it's a model that we not only do we want to push it towards the wider aspect of the environment in Qatar, but I think also it's a model that can be implemented globally as well.
Is that what you mean when you say legacy in action? It's kind of where you start the process way, way before, but it's something that will have a
Absolutely.
further reach.
The legacy on again, labor reforms, the legacy is being delivered now. It's not something that we're looking beyond 2022. The legacy is being delivered now, and it will not end at the end of 2022. Our commitment, and it's important to highlight that the labor reforms, the reason we're pursuing it and pushing it forward and committed to it, it's out of our own values, out of our own volition. It's not something that, some people might assume it's as a result of a lot of the criticism that came on board. The criticism, as I said, served as a vehicle, as a guiding principle sometimes when we talk to partners. Although there's a lot of misinformation that is out there as well, I want to highlight. There's a lot of misinformation that is out there. But having said that, this is something that we're delivering before the tournament. Mm-hmm. It will last beyond the tournament. And there's other aspects as well that we're delivering today when we talk about legacy that we believe either serves as a benchmark. The programs themselves will continue, but the initiative itself will serve as a benchmark, and we're urging people to use it for the next edition of the World Cup, which will be here.
Yeah. Indeed, it will be 2026.
2026?
Yeah. Another sort of area where you faced criticism, maybe, what's the word for it? You faced challenges, let's say, is from within the LGBTQ community. And this, I believe it's probably a clash of cultures as well, in the sense that there was a concern that there would be no sort of legacy within this community, but that also that they weren't even welcome in the first place. And this is something you've also had to face head on.
We've said it, from day one, everybody's welcome. I mean, the purpose of this tournament, the purpose when I say bringing people of different backgrounds, different sets of beliefs, different sets of values together, is it's an unprecedented opportunity for us to all come together, celebrate together, and be able to appreciate our differences. And look, from personal experience, as well as during many, many conversations that I've had with people, once you have these points of contact, once you have something that kind of unites us, common passion, a book, a movie, whatever else it may be, and we can have a common conversation, and then after that realize that, yes, we have differences, provided that it's discussed in a way that respects the other and understands that we might not necessarily see eye to eye, but there is room for dialogue and a conversation. It goes a long way towards, I think, I won't say it goes a long way towards fighting stereotypes and prejudices. And that's what we're saying. We're saying to the world, everybody's welcome. We have our own sets of values in certain aspects that we ask for people to respect. Public display of affection generally is not part of our culture. But what is part of our culture, what is ingrained in our DNA, is the fact that we're welcoming, we're hospitable, we welcome the world. It's not, by the way, the World Cup is probably the biggest event that Qatar hosts, but it's not the only event, it's not the only global event that we've hosted. Over years, we've actually developed an experience and a desire to host major events. And we've welcomed people from different walks of life, and people from different walks of life have made their homes in Qatar, made lives for themselves in Qatar. And I think on that basis, as I said, I continue saying, everybody's welcome. It is an opportunity to discover a new culture. It is an opportunity to explore differences in terms of our backgrounds. But it's more importantly, I think what we shouldn't miss out on or lose sight of, it's an opportunity for us to really celebrate our common humanity.
I completely agree, and I know it's something we were discussing on the way here in terms of, when you have a different culture, a different background. I mean, you and I will straddle multiple cultures, and I think that's a very important part where the Western world is potentially sometimes a little bit afraid of what they might face, and actually it's all about just embracing the
it's
commonality and its exposure.
That's what
very
it is.
much
It comes down to, again, you always fear the unknown.
Yeah.
The minute you interact, and that's what I'm saying, the human-to-human interaction, the people-to-people diplomacy is unbelievably valuable. Once you start interacting, at the very least you walk away and say, you know what, that person's not too bad, for an Arab.
Yeah.
It's not too bad for an Arab. I think I can, it's okay. Even if you walk out thinking that all Arabs are not so great, but this person's not too bad. And that, by the way, that little spark can go a long, long way if we nurture it right.
Yeah, and I think that's particularly key, considering it is the first one in an Islamic nation as well, and I think it's opening that door. Now, one thing you see in a lot of where a lot of tournaments are held, we've seen it in London 2012. I'm from London. We've seen it in Sydney. We've seen it at the Brazil World Cup. What happens to the venues afterwards? And this is something that is really key. So, for Qatar, how do you envisage? As you say, you've hosted other global events as well, but in terms of attracting more events going forward, I mean, that surely must be a big part of the legacy.
Look, again, or to highlight, from day one, legacy was at the forefront of our plans. During the bidding stage, every single aspect, every single penny that was spent in terms of the infrastructure, everything was designed with a legacy in mind. So just to take a step back for people to kind of understand, because people think the infrastructure that was developed was for the World Cup, and that's not the case. What the World Cup did was accelerate a lot of the infrastructure projects that were planned by the government as part of its urban development. The World Cup accelerated a lot of these initiatives, the Doha metro system being one specific example. It was part of the plan to reduce congestion, to contribute to less carbon emissions. The World Cup accelerated that initiative. In terms of stadiums, every single stadium that we designed, during the design phase, we engaged with the local community to understand how can these stadiums be centers for the community and be utilized and have a life beyond the tournament. That's why we have the modular stadiums. So most stadiums will be reduced in size from 40,000 to 20,000 seats. The biggest stadium, Lusail Stadium, will not remain as a stadium. The inside will be overhauled for another use, which we'll announce soon. And then the 974 Stadium. Sorry?
You don't want to break the news?
No, not yet. I want you guys to listen to me, from now till for the rest of the 60 days. 62 days. But then there's the 974 Stadium, which is a unique stadium in its own, in the concept. It's the only stadium that was ever designed to be completely disassembled from the design phase. So it's a steel structure built using shipping containers or inspired by shipping containers, set up like a Lego. At the end of the tournament, it will be completely disassembled. And there's a use for that. Hopefully, just, wish me good luck to finalize one aspect. And if it does work, I think, again, it'll be a great contribution to the concept of sustainability as well.
Yeah.
But every aspect of the design of the stadiums was what's going to happen beyond. And having said that, we're on our path to hosting major events. We've got the 2030 Asian Games. 2023, we're going to be hosting the Asian Football Cup. And, dare I say it, I think potentially we're going to be bidding again for the Olympics. So I think our journey throughout, being host for major events and utilizing these major events to deliver on the goals that I mentioned, on the vision that we have, that extends beyond Qatar, that includes the region, that includes the globe, is ongoing.
So 62 days to go. Just to finish, what's top of your agenda as we hone into the
What am I going to
closing
do
straight.
on the 19th of December? I keep telling people, first thing I'm going to do is actually introduce myself to my kids again. You know, after that, I think
in real time rather than FaceTime.
well, absolutely. You know, I mean, you saw me. I just sent a little video to my daughter, just because I sent her a message, and that was the only way I could deliver the message. But no, I think, look, what tops my mind is honestly we're ready to welcome the world. We're excited. We're excited for the world to come. We're excited for the world to experience the first World Cup in the Arab world, in the Middle East, and which I believe will be truly a global event.
Guys, you make a history.
We made history. Thank you very much. We're about to make history.
I hope a few of you here will be able to come and join us to watch the soccer. Right?
The football. You see,
The football.
If you said the soccer, nobody recognized what you said. There are already football fans over here. They only know
Yeah.
football.
Thank you so much, Hassan.
Thank you.
Pleasure as
Thank
always
you.
talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
To a lovely audience as well.
Thank you.